Hi, I'm Mike Taylor, founder and CEO of Innovative E. I really appreciate you taking the time to attend the conference and my session. I'd also like to thank Dave Rubenstein and the great folks at SD Times for having me at this great event. A bit more about me and why I'm here. So there are a lot of great speakers at this event immersed in all things value stream. I hope you stay after this next statement, but I'm probably among the least likely experienced on the value stream topic. What I do bring to the table is decades of experience helping organizations build, adopt, and grow work and project management applications and systems. I've also been told it's about time to change that profile pic, maybe a little bit old. All right, moving on with the agenda. I know there are folks here with all kinds of backgrounds and interests. What I thought I'd do today is take you on a journey through our world through the lens of what our customers ask us to do and how we got into value stream management. I'll also like to explore the organic nature of the work we do and examine some of the challenges our customers face and the strategies for getting it right, both in terms of the technology and the adoption. So what we do for our customers. Innovative E is in the business of helping organizations build, adopt, and grow work and project management applications and systems. Building is actually the easy part. The sustainment and growth require adoption, and the adoption means people actually have to use and continue to use the systems. We're a recognized leader in our space, and we've been honored with multiple awards from Microsoft as a top partner and recognized by some industry analysts like Forrester. We've only become involved in the value stream management space, I'd say, over the last about 2 years, 24 months, when we've seen the demand for integration between disparate work and project management systems grow really significantly. A couple of years ago, integrations were probably maybe 10% of what our customers' initial requirements or must-have list would be. Today, I'd say that's probably closer to 30 or 40% customers coming to us and right out of the gate, they're saying, look, we have to have these integrations between these different systems, project and ADO or Jira and ServiceNow, these different pieces of work management. So traditional approaches, long before model-driven integrations and VSM, we help customers with information visualization and consolidation from different work management systems. This typically consists of joining data in central databases for more integrated reporting or business intelligence via data warehouses, or building custom point-to-point integrations to move data between the applications. Again, what's really changed for us in the last couple of years is the demand from our customers to connect multiple applications to create a more complete work scenario, i.e. a value stream. So the and versus the or. Let me share a little bit more about our space. In the software development industry, we've all seen the huge momentum for project to product and the proliferation of the agile tools and techniques. But I can tell you that project management is still alive and well. A large percentage of our customers are in the regulated industries such as financial services, health and life sciences, and government. Especially in these customer segments, we've seen even a higher need for better visibility, agility, and control related to traditional measurements of portfolio investments, resourcing, timelines, dependencies, and ultimately the results and benefits from these initiatives and investments. What this means for many organizations is that it's really not a matter of which techniques and tools are required. It's really a matter of all, and therefore and wins over or. Work management freedom. I want to take a step back and clarify that we understand that work and project development management systems are not the actual work. Code management aside, whether it's a project management or an agile system, the data in the system is not the work, it's really a digital representation of it. So sometimes people lose sight of this fact that a task in a Microsoft project schedule or a storyboard in Jira are just this digital representation of what they're actually doing. To this end, our primary objective is to free people from doing the overhead of maintaining this data of the folks that are doing the work and managing it, leaving more time for, well, the actual work. And this increases productivity. In our customers' world, this really drives the need for multi-point integration and sets the foundation for value stream management. Organic foundations. While our solutions end up having visibility at the C-suite, usually at some point in time, our customer entry point is typically with the tool owners. This might be a project office or a PMO, IT leadership, or software development leadership, or some combination of all of those. So at least initially, we're talking a bit below the folks looking to optimize value streams across an enterprise. We're working with people who need to, well, GSD, get stuff done. Usually the conversation starts organically and simply. It can say, we just need to integrate disparate systems. So it's obvious that folks don't want to enter data in multiple places. That's the opposite of doing less overhead, is actually doing more, right? So what begins to complicate the conversation is seeing beyond this initial problem at hand. The tool owners understand the problem of solving duplicative data management, but it's still a very tactical problem that's limited to them and their user set. So this makes the decision to invest in integration based on the value to that user community and not to the enterprise itself. While ultimately getting at a higher level of management would help resolve this, preferably a C-suite, and begin down the value stream management discussion to remove these obstacles and go a more holistic approach, that isn't always possible. To get out of this quagmire, it's often good to work with the individual tool owners to see the broader implications for their team experiences first. Past the data duplication efforts, value can be realized by more and higher fidelity data. This leads to better information management overall in their world, which then can result in overall better efficiency and outcomes for that community. Again, I can't speak for others, but in our world and our customers' world that we work with, this is where it all begins. Getting buy-in at the individual tool level is a fundamental stepping stone to VSM. So let's look at a common integration scenario. Here's a quick look at the kind of problems our customers want solved. This customer has Microsoft Project Server or Project Online and tracks traditional project items like tasks and dependencies. Perhaps these projects have interdependencies and are part of a larger portfolio that is cross-functional. One of the functions is the software development department. They manage their work in Jira. In this situation, the integration might be to have tasks identified in epics or story in Jira. The dev team continues their work in Jira, but the integration passes key information back to project. So it would originate in project, could go over to Jira, and then updates could come back to project. So scenarios grow. Now the initial integration is creating less overall work for both the project and the Jira teams, while getting better and more reliable overall results. So now someone says, why are we entering ticket information in ServiceNow only to reproduce a subset of those tickets using a lot of the same metadata in Microsoft Project Online and Jira? So it's time to light up the next one. Moving ticket requests that are to become projects, Project Online, and thereby the subset of that that's going to be developed in Jira over to Jira and then back and so on. Now data is harmonized between 3 user communities and tool sets. The overall data management becomes even easier and the quality and timeliness of the information becomes dramatically better. Thus is the organic nature of integrations starting to become value streams. So we're at a crossroad moment. As discussed, we've been involved with integrations and data consolidation efforts for many years, and these were usually addressed with point-to-point integrations or data warehouse type solutions. Now with proliferation of multi-point integrations really taking fire, we had a choice to make. We either had to build some form of tool for this, or we had to partner with a tool provider. For us, this was a no-brainer decision. Since our strategy is to remain focused on our core differentiation in our space and only develop IP for niche areas where there really is nothing or where we really excel, we decided we would partner. After extensive research, we decided to partner with a market leader, probably one of the top, or if not the top market leader, and that is TaskTop. So why did we choose TaskTop? Yes, we're a TaskTop partner, but this next part isn't sales or marketing fluff. There were a few key things we were looking for during our search. One, does the product work and work really well, doing what it's supposed to do? And 2, is it reliable technically from a technical perspective and from an organizational level, i.e. is there a good company behind it? All of these were answered pretty quickly. After walking through multiple demos and attending classes, our architects and consultants were convinced it performed really well. So on to the reliability. At their core, integrations are plumbing. It has to work all the time. Ever had a plumbing problem in your house? Burst pipe will change your plans for the day. Trust me, I know. I had one recently. No matter how important everything else was, your plans have changed to deal with that situation. Integration failures are very much the same way. So TaskTop has almost 60 integrations available. Most of these are cloud-based applications where the provider has CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery, or deployment, depending on who you ask. What this means is that stuff is changing on these endpoints all the time. To keep up with this requires literally daily, hourly, rigorous testing mechanism. TaskTop has this, and therefore they can identify issues at the endpoints oftentimes before they even make their way through to a client situation. So that's why we chose TaskTop from a capability and a reliability perspective. Another reason we chose TaskTop was their model-based integration. Having built numerous custom integrations and seeing customers and partners build even more, we learned the value of being able to model the integration through a graphical interface versus having to go back and manage it through code and manual effort. The numbers speak for themselves. There's dramatically less time doing mappings, much faster integration setup, and probably most significant, a giant savings in maintaining the integrations themselves and the code base associated with it. Without ongoing testing process for the endpoints, integrations will fail and fail badly at some point. We've seen customers build their own integrations and then spend vastly more than the initial build or implementation cost, updating and maintaining it over the following months and years. These things literally can take on a life of their own. So let's go back to basics. What does it take just to get one work management system right? To start with, it's always more complicated than it seems and most definitely more difficult to get right than the software vendor will let on. It requires understanding of why people need the tool. Remember, these tools are often viewed as a necessary evil by the very people that will ultimately determine how successful the system will be at improving the work management outcomes that the organization desires. So I've mentioned adoption as an absolute essential component of any work management tool. Again, if people can't or won't use a system, then the information derived from the solution is useless and it won't be used. It could be argued that the tool has even a negative value since some effort and cost is being expended to maintain something that isn't providing a return on that ongoing investment. It may seem comical, but you wouldn't believe how many times we've seen that exact scenario. So successful adoption is almost always closely related to any effective organizational change management. Platform and product providers almost never want to discuss this, but the three legs of the solution stool are there today as much as they were 20 years ago. It's still about people, process, and technology. So what can you do to help ensure adoption? What we've seen work is to create these solutions through a series of iterative and incremental wins. We start by doing a basic tool build out. We call this foundation. In parallel, we begin to analyze the objectives and turn those objectives into requirements. The balancing act comes when you decide how you're going to apply those requirements and when. Again, smaller winnable wins almost always wins out over a big bang approach. It's important to use change management techniques for sure. It's also important to clearly empower a core team that is responsible for the ultimate solution success. The primary method we use for organizational change management is based on the proximal progression learning theory. It says that if a person knows how to do A, he or she cannot jump to C without first learning B. Further to that, the weakest link concept to apply to systems. Improper usage and bad data begins the spoilage process for work management systems. Everyone needs to be proficient in the technology and versed in the process to ensure success. We found that having a core team that will take ownership of the initial and iterative enhancement phases is critical. They serve as the change agents and the go-to resources for everyone in the organization. And they can also serve as champions for future enhancements and integrations. So what are the keys to success for integrating multiple tools? You might wonder why I spend so much time on getting just one work management system right. Whether it's an agile or project management tool you're using, not having it implemented and used correctly yields bad experiences for the users, bad information for the organizational management, and possibly really bad outcomes for the tool owner. All the aforementioned being said, consider this. What happens when you join two tools and one doesn't have good usage and therefore data? Now, if you add a third or a fourth or a fifth, what you're doing is making a small pile of trash much bigger. So make sure each endpoint is healthy and adopted prior to hooking it up to other systems. Demonstrate the integration advantages to each of the endpoint owners for their community and the organization. Make sure you apply the same change management principles for the integration that you would for an individual solution. And lastly, pick the right horse. A good technology provider will make it an enjoyable ride. Conversely, a bad decision here will be an ongoing pain so long as you're in the saddle. Okay, I'd like to take the last couple minutes to review some of the key challenges and strategy to overcome. The first challenge for internal integrations. Oftentimes the tool owners only see the tactical value in solving a specific problem like duplicate data entry. To make things worse, they only see it from their or their team's perspective. This makes getting approval for an integration technology and solution difficult as it comes down to what is this going to solve? What is this duplicate data entry problem worth, right? In that lens, it might seem it's only going to solve a problem of a few people doing this work for a few hours per week. And again, we're already paying them anyway, right? So why do I want to go spend some money on this? So the strategy, you might consider illuminating the benefits to them beyond this face value, beyond this, it's just a small problem to solve. Show how it not only adds value through reducing the time for the data entry, but also facilitates more and better data. This better fidelity of data leads to better overall information management and better outcomes for their group and for the whole organization. And those, oftentimes people are kind of myopic about their group. Almost everyone really does care what the whole enterprise is doing and how they're faring. So they're all part of it together. The second challenge, and this is taking a step back, but successful build out and adoption of work management tools and systems is a basic building block that must be right prior to integrations and ultimately to VSM, right? So a strategy that you can use here is to use the applied organizational management techniques we discussed to help drive adoption. Break deployment into iterative phases or parts. Make sure the value for each phase can be quantified and then achieved. This is the winnable wins concept, right? So identify and challenge a core team also to take champion and ownership responsibility for the system's success. It's ultimately their mission to make converts out of the curmudgeons and naysayers that could otherwise torpedo success. The third challenge, ensuring adoption of integrations as 2 or more endpoints are connected. This can be difficult when different tool owners and managers are involved, which they will be, and they have varying agendas. This is not to mention the quality to which each tool is maintained. So strategy here, do a complete analysis as much as possible, the data that's going to be considered for integration. And this might not be the full set of data that's in one system or another. I mean, for instance, in the ServiceNow solution that we talked about earlier, you certainly wouldn't take all tickets and make them into a project, right? It would just be a subset of them. So analyze that subset and understand the quality of that data and how it's being maintained before it's automatically put over and projects are starting to be executed, right? Incorrect usage in the systems that result in bad data. You got to look at some form of remediation before you put those things together and start launching downstream actions off of them, right? Doing nothing here is a recipe for problems once the integration has occurred. So you can use the same applied adoption techniques for the integrated solution. Think of it as a holistic solution instead of just one of the solutions we talked about before as a work management solution. And again, you can identify a core team or at least an integrated solution owner, the champion, the integrated solution, and not just champion it from the initial piece, but also to take ownership of the ongoing maintenance of it in terms of if there is a problem with any of the other components of it, that they have the will and the means to go make these remediation efforts, to go talk to these individual tool managers to make some of the changes or bring things back in line. So I hope that's helpful. So our journey into VSM started with basic asks from customers for point-to-point integrations that became model-based multi-point integrations, and finally finds us moving into true value stream management. It's really great to see the aha when people start to realize that it's coming together into tangible ways to measure, adapt, and ultimately deliver value aligned with the enterprise goals much faster. But again, there's a lot of folks here that are going to be able to talk more about that. I just wanted you to get an idea of our journey, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you again very much for attending my session. Really enjoyed being here today. If you have any questions, there's the contact information on the slide. Thanks again to the conference organizers, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference. Take care.